Welcome back to the TSL3, sponsored by PokerStrategy.com. We're here on day number 2, and this is series number 2. oGs.NaDa taking on Empire.Kas. They have both spawned on the mutually eastern side of the map, and we have a have fun, good luck, good game out of Kas. Very nice to see game number 1, NaDa capitalizing his luck, always in style.
Absolutely. So this is going to be a Terran versus Terran on a macro-style map. Their spawn locations. Once again, it's always important to note this on a lot of Korean-style maps, just how the expansions are laid out. The natural for Empire.Kas is going directly towards his opponent, but the mineral expansion inside the main base of NaDa, which does have a geyser there as well, is towards his opponent. So if there's any air rushing, it'll favor Kas, I would say. Any ground rushing will most likely favor NaDa, but that does dictate the kind of builds that you can go on these maps, and that is one thing that I recently I've actually been getting a lot of emails of people saying, well, if my natural is closer to my opponent, that just favors them straight up. But the thing I like about this is at the top level of play, the players are already going to know what kind of builds to go based on what spawn locations and how to react, and just based on spawn locations can completely change the dynamic of the game, and definitely look out for that in game number 1 here.
Yeah, we can see NaDa sending a very early SCV scout, the red SCV, heading out to the top left. Just to see what he can see. No, actually going to scoot into the middle. He may be going to the bottom right. Meanwhile, Kas not scouting, just got his SCVs queued up to 15 when he'll make that orbital. Does not have a refinery on the way yet, so we may be seeing fast expansion. Fast expansion very strong on this map, as you can take that backdoor expansion and defend it very easily. Meanwhile, NaDa also not taking his gas. I always like to throw up the APM tab here. NaDa averaging just about, or currently averaging 300 plus, and of course this is on Blizzard Funny Time APM, which is 70% slower than normal time, so you got to divide that by 0.7, and that's a calculation I can't do in my head. So let's just say he's very fast, and NaDa now sees the gasless base of Kas, so he's going to know that there's a fast expansion coming up, and looks like he's going to react with a fast expansion of his own.
Yeah, absolutely. Not too surprised to see this from either player sending their SCVs down there almost at the identical timing. It does look like NaDa's is just a couple of seconds behind. Not going to be a huge deal though, really, just because he's such a strong player. And you mentioned the APM, and it's just funny to me because I did watch him in person. I don't know if he has to replace his keyboard after every game because he just keeps up that APM non-stop, and he's always been known for that. It does help with his multitasking, just helping him stay focused in the game, and he is very mesmerizing to watch. So if you ever see him at BlizzCon or anything like that, just go take a little peek there and be completely mesmerized. I always think of those the StarCraft headsets that light up. His would probably just explode trying to keep up with that. But for now, I think we are going to see a macro-style game here from both players. I would not be surprised. Empire.Kas throwing down his 3rd racks right now, and we'll just have to see what NaDa decides to follow this up with in his own base.
And, you know, just an interesting story I want to follow up here about APM. There seems to be kind of this romantic vision where people have to say, well, you know, if you're really smart, APM doesn't matter. But unfortunately, the reality of it is that, you know, mechanics do come first and foremost in this game. I remember the coach that recruited Jelizerg in Brood War actually said he was a terrible player, but he could click really fast. So they recruited him, and now, you know, he's a champion in Brood War and soon to be a champion in StarCraft 2, I've got to imagine. So it really does play a huge role here, but we shouldn't look past Kas. He's also playing very quickly, averaging about 200 APM currently. Both orbital commands on the way. NaDa going to favor a factory follow-up as he drops that reactor on the barracks in his main base. Meanwhile, Kas going to favor 4 barracks.
Yeah, and one of the things I remember NaDa back in the day is just crazy amounts of siege tanks, so I would not be surprised to see him go something similar here, and I kind of hope he does, because I think that when 2 Terran players go different builds, it is much more entertaining than just a bunch of Marines and siege tanks being on the field. And if Empire.Kas continues to produce this amount of barracks units, which I mean he obviously will because he's been throwing down 4 of them, then it will come down to the positioning of his army and the timing of when he uses his stim packs and things like that. You can see stim is going to begin being researched right now. That was way too many B words, but the timing of it is going to be way later than, for those of you who don't know, most people do know now, they did nerf stim pack a little bit just in how long it takes to get it, so that, especially in a Terran versus Terran, that could delay his attack for quite a while. And I also like, though, how NaDa is hiding his factory and starport at the top of his base, so if Kas decides to scan, he's not going to see a whole lot. NaDa getting a money scan right there and seeing all of the barracks.
Yeah, and Kas actually did scan NaDa, and he saw nothing, absolutely nothing. He doesn't even see the tech lab on the top right. So NaDa going to swap the barracks there, or excuse me, going to swap the factory with the starport and begin producing a Banshee. Cloak is not on the way for NaDa. He does not have the minerals to make it, but he does have the gas. Meanwhile, also going to be making a factory with the Tech Lab add-on to transition into siege tanks, making a bunker so he doesn't die to any sort of marine pressure. But if Kas, catches wind of this, moves forward and sees that it's an expansion into kind of a 1-1-1 build, he may be able to just throw down another command center, transition into siege tanks, and defend very easily. It's really hard to know this is coming, but look at Kas dropping that missile turret all the way on the right side where a Banshee may fly in. And does he have another missile turret in his main base? No, that's going to be the only one thus far.
Yeah, and you did mention the lack of Cloak here. The starport just now going to be lifting off, and the Banshee is now going to be on the field. It may fly over that missile turret. I gotta hand it to Kas. This is this preemptive placing of that missile turret. His game senses are tingling right now. We'll see if this Banshee is actually going to fly directly into it. I don't think NaDa's going to expect a missile turret here. Does fly in there, runs out of there, takes 3 hits, so now it has already taken a lot of damage. But look at this, Empire.Kas is already across the map with all of his Marines. I don't think that NaDa realizes that he could do a lot of potential damage here with this Banshee, and we'll see if Empire.Kas can make anything happen here. If nothing else, he can at least kill these rocks, and is that what he's going to do? He's trying to peek up here with all of his units. Don't know that he's going to be able to break that, as there is now a siege tank there, and siege mode. Is siege mode even on the way? Does he have it? Yeah, he does.
This is ridiculous. Look at the turret in Kas's natural. That's the most random placement I've ever seen in my life. You'll notice it's missing HP because the Banshee flew into it. Like, look at these 2 turrets where they're placed. Who would ever place turrets there? That's ridiculous star sense there. And I just can't get past that. Kas playing like a genius combined with Miss Cleo. I don't even know who this guy is. Now dropping his well, I guess his third base in his natural. So he's going to get that way before NaDa. And NaDa cannot feel comfortable knowing that he invested a lot of money in getting that Banshee up. And not only a lot of money, he invested a lot of tempo because he couldn't produce units that he needed while he was trying to get that Banshee up. He was doing a lot of swapping. Now that he's switching into his bread and butter barracks units backed by siege tanks, he's a little bit behind Kas. You can see Kas is at 94, NaDa's at 85. Kas has a little bit of map control. He's out on the map. He's got a medevac out, actually.
Yeah, Kas's tempo in this game, he is really taking control of this game. He is in such a comfortable spot right now, already having about a 10 supply advantage. He does reveal that he is going to be dropping here. May drop on top of the siege tank to take it out. Some splash damage, may be able to take it down as well. You can see the siege tank on the low ground working against NaDa. Does snipe one tank. Can he get out of here with the medevac? No, yes, he is going to get out of there now, but he stopped and loses it. He completely was going to have a miracle medevac there, and I was going to say that the tempo of this game is really heavily favoring Kas. Losing that is not going to help him out, though, as this game progresses forward. And, wow, did I see someone? I have to check Kas's base really quick. No, okay, I saw it incorrectly. But anyways, he did lose that medevac in that drop. But thankfully, that missile turret kind of forced Kas's units to drop closer to NaDa. And so NaDa will hang in there. He does have his third base on the way, but again, it is way behind.
Yeah, NaDa coming out with 2 more drops, trying to drop on that natural base. Scans and sees a turret, so he's going to fly around. Hopefully he remembers about this turret, which has a buddy in the main base. So the right side of Kas's base completely locked down with these iron turrets. NaDa not going to want to be dropping anywhere near this. And Kas has just a massive army loading up yet again. He's got a second medevac. Looks like he's going to load that up and go for a drop on the natural yet again. NaDa, a little bit starved in the unit count here. And here comes the drop for Kas. Going to fly around, eating a lot of turret shots, but he's just going to go for it. Dropping in. First medevac goes down with 4 Marines still. Oh my god, second medevac goes down. So he's going to cause a little bit of damage, but he's lost a lot here. Continuing to push into the natural, but he's going to see there's no base there. And he's going to give up a lot of units here. Meanwhile, NaDa still has his medevac sitting at the right side of the map, but not doing too much there. Kas is going to go for it.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to run up the ramp. He did take 1 siege tank splash damage. Keep an eye on the medevacs on the right side. They could decide to move out at any time. So Empire.Kas, he did at least force a liftoff on the expansion. The SCV is just now transferring over. Here comes the drop on the right side. Now there is going to be that wonkily placed missile turret, able to intercept that. The second missile turret almost in range, and it looks like NaDa's going to lose the medevac as well. Only 2 Marines out of this medevac right now, and all the Marines will unload there, but they are unloading on top of a siege tank that is not in siege mode, and cleans that up. It does look like NaDa trying to move out to secure his third base right now. Looks like Empire.Kas is going to push this back. This is such a back and forth game. Both players taking pretty severe losses. Empire.Kas is here. Empire.Kas does run up the ramp though with these Marines doing a lot of damage because those siege tanks were not sieged up, but there is still a siege tank on the low ground, just being a giant pest to NaDa's game plan right now.
I'm ridiculously impressed with how well Kaz is playing. He's got complete map control now. NaDa gonna siege up and take out this small little contingent outside his natural, but look at the amount of units that are moving from Kaz's main base. That's a ridiculous amount. He's got them in 2 groups, now reuniting them. Looks like, bringing up the units tab, if I can reach it, he's got 46 Marines on the field, whereas NaDa only has 15, and the tank numbers are even, so that's a big difference in the way of about 35 supplies. Kaz moves forward, gonna get position. Very important position on the natural. Gonna siege first, gonna stim up, and I don't think NaDa can defend this. Moving in with a beautiful concave of Marines. Gonna snipe down 1 tank, 2 tank, 3 tank, none. And NaDa is forced to run up into his main base, concede the map yet again as Kaz continues to stomp forward, taking base number 4 and 5.
Does kill that command center. Looking at the units tab, still 43 Marines to 23 and 8 siege tanks to 0. Empire.Kas sitting at home having a wonderful time as he is taking that double expansion as well. Oh, I can't believe that we are seeing this right now. Empire.Kas playing so beautifully. Yes, he did lose a couple of drops, but he was also able to punish NaDa in the same way, killing those drops, making them virtually worthless. And right now, NaDa stuck on 2 bases, main base almost mined out. And the problem for NaDa is right now is he has 62 SCVs, really only on 1 fully mining base. And that means he's probably going to have to pull his SCVs down with his army just to try and break this contain. We'll see though, NaDa trying to move out here. He's very delicately going to skip by here on the right side, but it looks like Kas is going to catch wind of this. Already has a lot of siege tanks on the high ground and a nice concave. NaDa is trapped and the clock is ticking. Empire.Kas is just being brutal right now.
Looks like he's just going to move forward and siege up. No, he's not going to siege up, but stimming his Marines, flanking in to take out the siege tank. Meanwhile, the unsieged tanks going to work on the Marines. Oh my god, actually doing very poorly there. Is NaDa able to break through, and Kaz in a full retreat trying to reunite his army, but he's got 3 flanks moving forward. Going to be able to sandwich NaDa's army with 3 slices of bread in the form of Marines and tanks and more Marines. NaDa trapped in the middle at this Zelnag watchtower. He does not have his natural up, and he's behind by 30 supply here, trying to make more medevacs out of this reactored starport. And actually, he does get back and does regain control of his army, so I'm surprised that Kaz let that happen. NaDa stimming forward and trying to take out some tanks. I feel like he underestimated what's here. Going to eat a lot of siege shots, but is going to manage to break it out at the cost of about a 30 supply deficit. And taking a look in Kaz's main base, he's got barracks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4 reactors on those barracks. That's a lot of Marines.
+1/+1 is completed for both players on their ground army. We don't see any siege upgrades or anything like that so for their meching units. So for now, the upgrades are fairly even. Upgrades are going to be wrapping up soon for NaDa. His +2/+2 actually will be ahead. So while his army is behind, it is slightly at an upgrade advantage. Now, Empire.Kas did give up a lot of map control there and just sacrificed way more units than NaDa did, simply because he lost all those siege tanks on the high ground and did not siege them up in time. If he did, he would have been in a much better spot. But I mean, right now, he is definitely in a very commanding lead, but NaDa, one small victory, but it does look like Empire.Kas is going to be stimming and running down here, gonna catch these siege tanks out of position, clean up this entire army. Kaz finally decides to siege up his army, and NaDa is going to GG here in game number 1. Empire.Kas is throwing out a G because he doesn't know how quickly NaDa is going to leave, but wow, able to win this game pretty convincingly. I think both players made minor mistakes with those drops, kind of committing at weird times, losing their medevacs, but really Empire.Kas just able to steamroll. I think the tempo of the game was set into his favor from the very beginning. Both players did decide to go for similar builds as the game progressed, but they just got there in a slightly different way, and I think that Empire.Kas just having, lots of early map control since he opted for Marines first really paid off. And even though he lost, I'm going to take a look at the units lost tab. And right before that big battle, Kas had actually lost quite a bit more than NaDa. It's just that his macro was so good, able to replace it quite easily, and then able to crush him in game number 1. A very surprising result here, but you know what? It is StarCraft 2, and these things can happen. If Empire.Kas is here playing to the best of his ability, it's obvious now that he can definitely take this series.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, they got there in different ways, but Kaz's way was clearly better, as that Banshee doing almost nothing, well, literally nothing, scratching the paint on the turret, giving my chill 3 stars out that game. I'm going to give them to turret number 1, 2, and 3. Another thing I want to mention, just before we move on to game number 2, was looking at the orbitals that Kaz had, and I believe he had 4 orbitals as I was scrolling around on the map. they were all well below 50 energy, and it's not like he dropped a bunch of mules. He was dropping them as they were coming. So Kas's mechanics, definitely something to look forward to as we move on to game number 2 on oGs.NaDa Caverns.